What's up? My name is Monica and welcome back to my channel. In today's tutorial, I'm teaching you how to sew this cute and trendy off-the-shoulder top. I do have another off-the-shoulder top in a tutorial I made last year, but that one's a little bit different. It has sleeves, whereas this one has this panel that goes all the way around. And I love this style. I think it turned out really good. I used a non-stretch fabric for this one, but you can use a stretch fabric. The choice is totally up to you. I love the way it turned out, so I really hope you like this one too. And if you do, please give the video a thumbs up, and I would so appreciate if you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any more videos. And yeah, what are we waiting for? Let's go ahead and get sewing. For this top, I used almost a yard of a lightweight non-stretch fabric I got as a remnant, but I do suggest getting more because I barely had enough. And you can use either a lightweight non-stretch or lightweight stretch fabric. You'll also need enough 1/4-inch wide elastic to wrap around your shoulders and a tank top to use as a template. To begin, go a little less than halfway up the curve of the armholes and fold the top portion above this point down out of the way, which creates the straight edge we need for the off-shoulder top. Then fold the tank top in half down the center. Fold a portion of fabric over a few inches wider than your tank top and lay the top down so that it's spaced at least 2 inches away from the fold of the fabric. And this is so that if you're using a non-stretch fabric like me, you'll have enough extra room to be able to get the top on and off since the fabric has no give. Then pin it into place. Begin cutting an inch higher than that top straight edge to give room for the elastic. Then cut a 1/2 inch wider than your armhole for hem allowance and at least a 1/2 inch wider than your side for seam allowance. Although I recommend angling the side to get a little wider as you go down to get a flowy effect. Finally, cut a 1/2 inch lower than the length you want your shirt to be. When you remove the tank top and unfold the fabric, you'll have a bodice cut out that looks like this. Then use it to cut a second bodice piece. Lay the pieces with correct sides facing together and pin and sew along the sides using a 1/2 inch seam allowance and always remembering to backstitch. Since I'm using a non-stretch fabric, I used a straight stitch for all my sewing in this tutorial, but if you're using a stretch fabric, sew everything with either a stretch stitch or a zigzag stitch so the seams will be able to stretch with the fabric, because a straight stitch would break when stretched. To hem the armholes, make sure the top is inside out, and starting at the top of the curve, fold the fabric over about 1/4 inch once, then fold it again another 1/4 inch and pin it down. Continue double folding down the curve of the armhole, smoothing out the fabric as you go, and when you get to the armpit seam, open up the shirt so you can see the whole armhole, and open up and flatten out the seam allowance before folding so it lays flat. Repeat this process up the other side until the whole armhole is pinned, then sew around the armhole to secure the hem, taking your time as you sew around the curves. Hem the other armhole exactly the same way. Now, to make the rectangular piece that goes around the shirt, measure the distance around your shoulders. I got 45 inches. We'll have to add extra room to this number to be able to move our arms freely, so plug in your measurement and add 10 to 20 inches to that number. I added 10 inches because I had a limited amount of fabric, but I suggest adding more because it'll give you extra room to move your arms more freely and it'll create a more ruffled effect. Then divide your number by 2. I got 27.5 inches. Cut 2 rectangles that measure the number you calculated long by 10 inches high, although if you wanted the rectangle to come lower on your arms than mine does, you could cut it larger than 10 inches. Lay the pieces with correct sides facing together and pin and sew along the short edges. Make sure it's turned inside out and hem the bottom edge by double folding the fabric a 1/4 inch at a time and pinning it down, repeating around the entire bottom edge. When it's all pinned, sew around the bottom to secure the hem. Turn this piece right side out and measure to find the center of the top raw edge and mark this center point with a straight pin both on the front and on the back side. Then turn your bodice right side out and measure to find the center of its top edge, and again mark the center front and center back with straight pins. Lay the rectangular piece down so that the hemmed edge is on the bottom and the raw edge is on top, and everything should be turned right side out. Open up that piece and wrap it around your bodice, lining up the raw edges of both pieces along the top. Grab that center back point you marked with a pin on the bodice and match it up with the center back pin on the rectangular piece and pin them together. Then match up the center front pin on the bodice to the center front pin on the rectangle and pin them together too. Pin the rest of the front of the bodice to the rectangle by starting from that center pin and working your way outward, pinning every couple of inches until the whole front of the bodice is joined to the rectangle. Pin the rest of the back bodice piece to the back of the rectangle as well, and once they're pinned, sew along the pinned sections along the front and then along the back, using only a 1/4 inch seam allowance just for these two seams. Our next step is to make a casing along the top edge for the elastic, so turn the top inside out and fold the top edge of the fabrics over a 1/2 inch once, then fold them again another 1/2 inch and pin them into place. Continue double folding a 1/2 inch at a time and pinning across the front of the shirt and then around the arm. Turn the shirt over and repeat along the back and then around the other arm until the entire top edge is double folded and pinned. Sew around the top to create the casing, but leave a couple inch gap unsewn for the elastic to go into, and keep your stitches close to the edge that was folded and pinned where I'm pointing to leave room for the 1/4 inch elastic to fit through. Use the same stitch you've been using, but if you are using a wider stitch like a zigzag, make sure you still leave room for that elastic. And when you get back near where you started sewing, backstitch and stop so you'll leave that gap. To cut your elastic, wrap it around your shoulders, stretching it slightly so it's snug but not too tight, then cut it a 1/2 inch larger than the size you need. Hook a safety pin on one end and feed it in through the opening of your casing, and as you push it through the fabric, be careful not to twist the elastic. When you pull it back out, remove the safety pin and lay the two ends on top of each other, then sew back and forth several times with a zigzag stitch to secure them. Pull on the fabric to get the elastic to lay flat inside and sew over the gap to close it up. Turn the top right side out and adjust the fabric so that it's gathered evenly, then sew a couple of straight stitches over the elastic on both of the side seams, which will help keep the elastic from twisting. Turn the top inside out and double fold and sew the bottom edge to hem it, and now you've got a cute new top. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this one. My name is Monica. These dogs. I'm trying to talk, dog. Bye, everybody. Cue the dogs. Literally every time I say hi, the dogs start barking. Woof, woof. Woof. That sounded like a monkey.